call this meeting of the Gloucester School Committee to order. This meeting is recorded by video and audio in accordance with state open meeting law, consistent with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of more than 25 people. This meeting will be conducted by remote participation. If you're calling in on a phone, you can press *9 to request to speak. If you're watching on a computer or a device, there is a raise hand button that you can tap or press to request to speak. Please use either of these options during oral communications to be recognized to speak. I'll remind everybody that the mission of Gloucester Public Schools is for all students to be successful, engaged, lifelong learners. And Maria, could we have a roll call for attendance?
Chairman Pope.
Here.
Ms. Prince, I believe she's not going to be here.
Not going to be here.
Mayor Taken.
Yes, here.
Ms. Watson.
Here.
Ms. Wiesen.
Here.
Kathy Clancy.
Here.
And Mr. Favazza.
Here. Okay, I'm going to ask you to join me in the salute to the flag. And as soon as I get, there we go, it's there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Oral communications. The public shall have the opportunity at every regular school committee meeting to be heard under oral communications. Oral communication shall allow any resident who has a request or complaint of any nature relative to the school committee business to appear before the school committee, state their problem without debate, and the matter may be referred to the proper subcommittee. For items that are on the agenda, members of the public may address the committee with the permission of the chair. Persons speaking under oral communications shall be limited to 3 minutes each and shall submit a copy of their prepared communication to the recording secretary. The school committee chair shall not allow complaints as to individual performance or character. And we have, first up is Matthew Lewis. Matthew, I've given you the right to talk.
Hey there, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Excellent. Nice to see everyone. I am reading a letter from a Gloucester school teacher who wishes to remain anonymous, but would like to have their voice heard. Dear Gloucester School Committee, I am a teacher and have been a teacher in the Gloucester school system for quite some time. I have come to love my time here, but the burnout rate that this school has faced has increased in the past couple of years. We're losing great teachers to the stress that comes with being a teacher and with the lack of acknowledgement and appreciation we get from those in leadership positions within our school. Gloucester schools have asked more this year from teachers than they ever have. We have risen to the occasion time and time again. We have sacrificed our personal lives and time in order to provide the best education possible during a pandemic. We willingly agreed to this, and though we do not regret any of our decisions, we believe that we deserve to be respected and appreciated. There seems to be more and more added to Gloucester teachers' plates without any consideration to what that means for us individually, both professionally and personally. Now the school committee wants to take away our right to put in for a personal day during the months of May and June. The people I work with,
but if you want to negotiate, we have negotiations ongoing,
and they are public. And as this is a public forum, I will continue to address the means and the things that can be addressed in public. The people I work with are warriors, and we have pushed through and battled the most challenging year of modern history and deserve more respect than these unnecessary restrictions that only hurt teacher morale. Furthermore, this year, I spent my time dealing with family members who are sick. Between COVID and watching my mother die of cancer, they had the benefits as public school teachers to take the time off that they needed and deserved and worked for. I ask that you please reconsider your decision to limit the freedoms that we already have. We plead with you to look at this from our perspective as a teacher in Gloucester. We have gone above and beyond for our students in our district, and for you to consider taking away our rights to put in for a personal day during the last few months of school is unjust and undeserved. Thank you for your time. I hope you reconsider. Sincerely, a Gloucester teacher.
Negotiations are ongoing. The way negotiations work is each side put forth their initial proposals and the other side responds to them. And that's the way it's supposed to work. And if you don't like our proposals, the opportunity to speak to those during negotiations is the appropriate place, okay?
Jonathan, point of order too. I'm just curious what the protocol is for anonymous comments during our public comment.
Well, Mr. Lewis would take responsibility for the letter. I mean, he identified himself. You know, if somebody sends an anonymous letter, we don't actually respond to it. I think there's a difference there. Okay, so to be clear, just for the record, the GTA walked out of our last negotiating sessions when they had the opportunity to address their displeasure with our proposals. Okay, Cynthia Carney.
Thank you, Jonathan. I just want to clarify a couple of things before I read a concern from a Gloucester teacher on behalf of the GTA. The negotiating team had stated that we will see you at the next meeting. We didn't feel that there was any more comments to be made, and we made our exit. I also want to state that this is a public forum, and this is where teachers' concerns can be aired. They cannot be aired at our negotiation sessions. Even though they're open, there is no oral communications. So on behalf of the GTA, I would like to share concerns that were sent to us and we're now sharing with you. I'm writing to you regarding the recent language proposed by the Gloucester School Committee for our contract. As a career changer, one of the most difficult transitions is the inability to take an hour off for appointments or make necessary appointments when needed. It is challenging to fit every appointment into the summer or hours after school. However, there are events I cannot control the scheduling of. Weddings, graduations, bar mitzvahs, baby showers, children's sports championships, and college visits. These can require out-of-state travel and are held in all 12 months of the year. To deny a teacher the ability to participate in these important life events because they happen in May or June does not recognize the work-family life balance of your teaching professionals. Additionally, I'm trying to understand why you are requesting a reduction in the number of sick days. As teachers, we are only paid for the 183 days we work each year. We do not get paid vacation days, paid holidays, or overtime pay. The district does not provide disability insurance to teachers either. Schools are very congested places with many kids sharing germs throughout the year. The number of sick days provided is generous, but when taken into consideration the lack of other benefits and working conditions, 17 sick days per year is appropriate. Reducing the number of sick days without compensation or justification seems unreasonable, does not recognize the importance of a healthy work environment. Also, as the policy-making board and the employer of record, why are you removing yourselves from the grievance process? It would be an appropriate role for your body to review grievances before sending them to arbitrations, to either affirm earlier decisions or to find a reasonable resolution. I am disheartened that you would remove yourself from this process. Please work with the GTA to find a reasonable resolution to these and all issues of concern. And I appreciate you listening to our teachers' concerns. Because I know that you do appreciate all their work. You had stated that. Thanks so much for listening.
Okay, Rachel Rex. Rachel?
Sorry about that. Can you hear me now, folks?
Yes.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I too have a letter. I'm writing this email to vehemently oppose the proposal set forth by the Gloucester School Committee Thursday night, May 6, 2021. With all due respect for the office of the superintendent and the school committee, expressing gratitude and appreciation is often easier when convenient in one's attempts to fulfill one's agenda. Where was the gratitude and appreciation when veteran teachers were risking their career for their well-being or their life for their career? Where was the gratitude and appreciation when teachers were left fending for their own PPE? Where was the gratitude and appreciation when teachers were left scrambling for testing or for vaccines? Where is the gratitude and the appreciation now? Simple typed words or newspaper ads do not suffice. They are without substance, simply for personal gain in this election year and further marginalized by a proposal that seeks to pilfer battled and merited teacher rights and benefits. It is disappointing that a community which claims to revere its educators would be willing to and allow others to denigrate them. As educators and contributors to the growth, well-being, and future of this community, the teachers of Gloucester Public Schools deserve true gratitude and appreciation from its school committee and its superintendent, not with words, but with actions that mirror and respect our role, our commitment, and our dedication. Thank you.
Okay. Beth Goldberg.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you. I just want to say I'm also going to read a letter from an anonymous source, but I will share my own feelings of watching negotiation and absolute shock of the proposals that I heard. So good evening, my name is Beth Goldberg. I'm currently the music, art, and PE teacher at the Gloucester K-5 Remote Academy. I have been teaching here in Gloucester for the last 21 years, and I'm volunteering to read this letter for a fellow teacher who wishes to remain anonymous. I wanted to express my thoughts and feelings regarding the proposals that were put forward by the school committee's bargaining team at the negotiation meeting last week. The very first proposal was to reduce sick days for teachers with professional teacher status from the current 17 to 12. So if we've done the hard work to earn our professional teacher status, perhaps earn our master's or master's plus 30 or 60, we should get our benefits reduced. On sick leave requests, you want 10 days notice or documentation from our doctor that the appointment occurred. Suppose I've waited 6 months for an appointment for a specialist for a personal medical issue. Do you really have the right to know why I'm going to the doctor? There was also a proposal limiting our personal days. So should we have a child graduating from college in May or June, we would not be allowed to take a personal day to attend this important milestone. I would like to note that your team began the bargaining session bringing GTA's attention to a full-page ad that was taken out in the Gloucester Daily Times, as well as the large sign at the Rotary, acknowledging and appreciating Gloucester teachers. Our president, Cynthia Carney, said she would be sure to let the members know, because perhaps people had missed that. I must say, I felt anything but appreciated. I felt insulted. The proposals left me feeling totally and completely disrespected. Seems to me that you have truly no idea what we as teachers do or what we have gone through this year. We were asked to risk our own health and safety, to let go of our own anxieties and fears, to be there for our students. We showed up in person while school committee members sat comfortably in Zoom meetings, making decisions that changed our lives. We showed up remotely too, and with no training or preparation had to make our way through the mazes of technology options and help our students learn. Prior to this pandemic, in a normal school year, teachers I work with are rarely absent. I've witnessed my colleagues come to work feeling sick and exhausted. The dedication of this group of professionals is amazing. We want to be there for our students. To make this proposal, starting off reducing our sick days at this particular time, the middle of a global pandemic, In fact, we were told, don't come to school if you don't feel well. And at the same time, it's like we're being tracked for how much time we may have taken off. It is unbearably rude. Do you really respect and appreciate teachers? Do you really see us as dedicated professionals that we are? Your proposals are an insult to our integrity. I sincerely hope you retract and rethink these proposals and treat us with the respect we deserve. And that is signed anonymous. Thank you.
Okay. Rayanne Menery.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Rayanne Menery Samataro, a teacher at the Gloucester Public Schools for 27 years, and I too am volunteering to read this letter for a fellow teacher who wishes to remain anonymous. I have felt insulted and exploited over and over this year. You, the school committee, sat in the safety of your home offices, arguing against CDC recommendations, saying it's safe for us to be crammed 16 into a classroom, barely 3 feet apart, with hardly any data to support this. Despite being afraid, many of us, because we were vulnerable, or we were horrified at the idea of being the reason something terrible would happen to a vulnerable family member, we still came to school every day. We worked endlessly outside of our contractual hours to modify our curriculum, became technology experts in order to teach children simultaneously at home and in person, and try to bring a sense of happiness and normalcy to our students in the midst of a global pandemic. Now we know that it was mostly safe, but we were the data used to gather the information. We did this all while feeling like a science expert, nothing more than lab rats. Given this knowledge, I will not try to appeal to you with my humanity because you clearly don't care. So I'll discuss your proposal in terms that you do care, politically and strategically. Let's think about the long-term strategy at work here, the optics of micromanaging our personal time and taking away sick days, etc. Give you context, I will talk to you about my experiences I have had. Most of my best friends and closest friends are teachers. Now, not only do I consider these my best friends, but they are some of the most elite, highly qualified teachers I have met. Some I met at Harvard after winning a teaching prize. Others as a fellow at Teach Plus, a Boston nonprofit, designed to give teachers voice and influence in order to change policy to best meet their needs of all students in an equitable way. A few of these friends and former colleagues have considered moving to Gloucester because once you visit, it is hard not to fall in love. They have even considered applying for positions here, willing to take a step down from teacher leader positions or even a significant pay cut to move laterally. The conclusion they all came to, something they would not move past, was the overall teaching package from compensation to benefits. So while Gloucester is a very attractive beach town, teaching here is not necessarily attractive to highly qualified candidates. The bottom line is if you want to attract highly qualified candidates to our district, you need to respect them. Respect looks like fair pay, benefits, and an administration that treats us like professionals. What you are proposing is going to make a candidate even less likely to cross the bridge, which we all know has been a challenge. How would you feel in our position? Would you want to work under the contract you are proposing? Thank you.
Okay, Teresa. You're muted, Teresa.
Sorry, thank you, Chairman Pope. This is a letter also anonymous that I received to read tonight. Dear School Committee, I'm writing to all of you in response to the proposal you have made for our Gloucester teachers contract. The first point which stands out is the restriction you are proposing to put on our personal days. We currently are contracted 3 personal days to use throughout the school year. You are proposing we are not to take them before or after school vacation weeks or long weekends, and that we are not allowed to take them in May or June. I have never heard of any other profession with so many blackout days when it comes to personal days. Many life events happen during the months of May and June. Graduations, weddings, babies being born, anniversaries, and birthdays, just to list a few. Are you proposing we should tell our families we cannot attend these major life events because they happen during our blackout months? I'm wondering if any of your jobs have blackout dates for your vacation time or personal days that are as strict as these you are proposing. How many of you have missed out on a graduation or wedding for your children because you needed to work or weren't allowed to go? Secondly, I would like to respond to the proposal where there, one has the inability to take an unpaid day. There are events that come up which are out of our control, and if a personal day is denied, then we can't go to that event without being worried we'll be punished at our job. Seems like an unreasonable request of a professional. Seems to me like both of these proposals are asking me and my fellow teachers to choose between our students who we care about or our families who are our lives, which is an unfair ask of anyone. As teachers, we work really hard and constantly put some of our family events, activities, and demands on the back burner to make sure all of our students are well taken care of and having all their needs met. But to put these two proposals in place takes it to a level which is extremely unfair. If you feel there are teachers abusing the time off for one reason or another, then that should be dealt with on an individual basis, and it shouldn't affect the staff as a whole. I would never punish an entire class for one student's poor choice in behavior. I feel I deserve the professional courtesy to make a decision on when I need to take a day off without being concerned that there will be repercussions to taking that day. I appreciate you all taking the time to listen to my concerns and hope you and the negotiation team may come up with a reasonable compromise for these points and the others that were made as well. Thank you for listening to my concerns, and I hope you all and the GTA negotiating team are able to come to an agreement which is best for both of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Clayton.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I'm speaking on behalf of a teacher who remains to be anonymous. I'm shocked by the proposals that the school committee has put forth. How disrespectful, the sick time being a cut, the doctor's visits, and the parameters for the use of personal days. How incredibly insulting. With all that we have done this year, I am so disappointed with that response. I have one other short one. Dear school committee members, thank you for the opportunity to speak and write letters tonight. One of the things that resonates in my head last week is a statement, actions speak louder than words. Putting a sign up at Roger Street, writing emails and posting on Facebook doesn't make me feel appreciated. How you act and treat us during negotiations is an indicator of how you really feel towards teachers. Taking away benefits and adding to our already taxing schedule shows me that you truly have no respect for what we do. If you really appreciate us, show us at the table. As a cancer survivor, if it wasn't for the sick days I was given in the sick bank, I would have lost my house and been on the streets. We do not have short-term disability, and we rely on this benefit that we have. I'm appalled after a pandemic that we are taking these types of benefits away from employees that gave everything to make this past school year work successfully. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Cynthia.
Hello, everybody. This is Cynthia Mahowski, 13 Wall Street, teacher at Gloucester High School. I wasn't planning on speaking tonight. I wanted to listen, but listening to my colleagues and just for the years that I've been here and just how disappointing it was at negotiations last week, I do appreciate that last year, that this year, that there were more attempts to be made to appreciate teachers in some ways. I've been here for 13 years in Gloucester. Last year was the first year I ever reached out to the school committee to say that I was disappointed that you didn't acknowledge Teacher Appreciation Week. I actually don't really care about it too much, but it just for me, it just stuck in my craw last year when so much was going on during a pandemic and everybody was working really hard and it seemed, and the schools were left out. And I reached out to you and I appreciated when the school committee did step up and did send something out. The school committee and the mayor had acknowledged it as well. And then this year, I do see it as, because I know we have two new school committee members in the last year who also were really making that effort forth. And considering the history of lack of acknowledgement that I've experienced I've actually never witnessed it from the school committee in my 13 years, except for last year and this year. So I can understand why it falls far short. So I guess I'm just trying to say that. I think what it is that it's a very frustrating year. We had our bargaining during Teacher Appreciation Week. And I think the timing was incredibly poor, and it would have been not well received no matter when, but especially last week during Teacher Appreciation Week, to say, we really appreciate you, but we're going to take away your we're going to limit your sick time. We're going to reduce your ability to tap into the sick bank, which are our own sick days, that the limitation is we can't use it for the same incidents. I think about a colleague who literally had his heart replaced and all the issues that will come up, and how he wouldn't be able to just take wouldn't be able to take the sick time that he's earned or that we've all put in. We're the only union in this city that can't buy back our sick days. I know the police does, I know the fire does, the DPW, the secretaries, everybody else can buy back sick days. Our union gave it up long before I came here. We probably won't get that back. So our sick bank is something. I mean, I know personally a few years ago, I had to, for personal and emotional, mental, spiritual health reasons, I had to dip into I had to take the sick bank. I didn't work for 3 months, 4 months, and came back. And I think to myself, like, if I had to use it again, or other colleagues who had to use it again, how much more devastating and demeaning it would be to realize everything you work for, that the message is that you're wanting to save money, or you're wanting to limit, I don't know, the budget or whatever it is, comes at the cost of understanding that I'm a professional, that I'm a human being who may need help and support for a period of time, and that you're willing to deny my help or support for whatever reason happens to be the short-term gain for yourselves. So I think listening to all my colleagues tonight, and when everybody's saying they're frustrated and disappointed, rather than I ask, then instead of you all being offended by that, personally offended, because it's unfortunate with Zoom, I can see a lot more of your faces, but rather step up and say to yourself, wait a minute, what's going on here? If I'm hearing from that many people, let me do some self-reflection. Let's see if we can figure out where the break in the relationship is between school committee and teachers. And let's figure out, because the reality is we need to have stronger relationships. We all have the same goal of working for our children and helping the students be the best they can be. And if a bunch of people are telling you they're frustrated, upset, and disappointed, that's an opportunity for you to have self-reflection and say, hey, let's rethink this. How can we re-meet and make a better and stronger relationship?
Thank you.
So that's what I want to say. Like, I will be critical, but I will also step up when I know I'm wrong. And I also will appreciate you for the things that you are done. I don't think it's a black or white, good or bad thing here. But I think there's an opportunity to look and reflect and say, okay, something's happening here and we got to switch gears. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Mary Ann, welcome back.
Thank you, Mary Ann Albert Boucher, 93 Mount Pleasant Avenue. I wasn't going to speak. I was just going to listen, as I do most weeks. But after listening to all of these teachers speak tonight, I've listened to all of you, or most of you, speak every week about how proud you are of the Gloucester school system and how you've managed to keep the children in school all year long. And you want other cities and towns to look at your programs and to see how proud you are of that. Well, none of it could happen without the people that just spoke, without the teachers in those schools. They worked night and day. I know, I've listened to a lot of them. They worked hours, into the mornings to get these programs up and running so that the children could be in school every day and so that you could speak proudly about them. And for them to get up now and speak like this, it really saddens me. And it you should be support. I guess what I'm trying to say is they have supported you since the very beginning of this pandemic. And I believe it's time to show the thank you by supporting them. Thank you.
Thank you. Marianne? Okay, I don't see any other hands raised. So I'm going to close the oral communications, and we'll move on with our business at hand. I will just reiterate that negotiations are just starting, and there's a long ways to go, and many things will change before we come to an agreement on both sides. So Mia's not here tonight. Oh, recognitions. Does anybody have any recognitions? Okay. Oh, Laura.
I just wanted to recognize, since this week, today was National School Nurse Day. So just want to give another thank you, to our school nurses who've been an integral part of our success with our teachers this year and all of our staff. So thank you, school nurses.
Yes, thank you.
Jonathan, Dylan Orlando is here in place of Megan Chalufo.
I was just about to say that, and Mia and everybody else. It's, so Dylan, you're on right now.
All righty, perfect. So my name is Dylan Orlando. I'm an NHS member and student council treasurer. The executive board, like we said, can't make it tonight, so I'm happy filling in. Can answer any questions that you guys might have. So first off, I got some news from the health center. The free food locker has continued to be busy with many students working to make it happen. And up to this week, there have been student helpers from the following programs. NHS has had 20 students. The life skills program has had 2 students. The transition program has had 5 students, and ROTC has had 2 students. Free food locker recipients, 1 student health center, and youth advisory council had 2 students. With these students' help, in April there were 86 total free food locker orders fulfilled, 30.
I think we just lost you, or maybe it's just me. Dylan, Dylan, we can't hear you.
After vacation.
Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All righty. So High School Musical Junior premieres next week. Students filmed around GHS before and after April vacation, and have been working with Ms. Kirk and Mr. Del Vecchio on editing for the last week. Performances are available to stream Thursday, May 20th at 7 p.m.
Yep, we've lost you again.
All right. My meeting quality is not great right now, but I think it's good now.
Okay.
So the tickets can be purchased at the Drama Club website, or by visiting bit.ly/Dunkadelic. Next up from the class of 2023, there's a drive up and drop off last push to get shoes in this Saturday from 8 to 12. They said they appreciate the continued support and are short by about 750 pairs for the goal. They've been collecting a lot of shoes, I've noticed. The junior class, they're trying to celebrate the seniors, so they're planning a celebration date. The freshman class is selling class shirts. Those are $10, and students can do the order form with Miss Finnessy. For Teacher Appreciation Week, NHS and Student Council students sent their teachers notes or emails and their guidance and secret pals. It was also Principal Appreciation Day on Monday, so we took care of that. This week, there's been the Senior Spirit Week, so we had a Taurus Day, God and Goddess Day yesterday, and today was Pajama Day. There's been some pretty good outfits lately. And then tomorrow's Career Day, and Friday is College Sweatshirt Day.
Okay. I think we've lost you again. Dylan, we can't hear you.
Okay, it keeps cutting out. My apologies. Next up from our auto shop. Today, the front page was partnering with GE, and students can get certified in CNC machining. The after school program is open to all, and it's free. There's an article. I'm not certain where to find the article, but there's an article. And lastly, but certainly not least, NHS had their officer elections. The new president is going to be Sophia Costa, the vice president, Darcy Muller, historian Tommy Elliott, and secretary Eliana Faria. And so that's all I have for you guys today.
Okay, thank you very much. Mayor Taken, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I don't know which hand to put up for you because I have a fake background, so you probably see half a hand. But first of all, thank you for this 2 minutes. Well, we heard some from the teachers, and so the teachers realize that we do appreciate them. I know it's hard. Not all of us are on the negotiation team. So, you know, we're hearing some things for the first time, and then we have a committee that does that, and they'll bring things back when it's almost there. So it's not, and we understand that it's frustrating, but we do appreciate you. We really do. A lot of us, I'm not on any of the committees, and rightfully so, because the fact is kind of hard because I have to also be on the city side, but we do appreciate you. Not only is it teachers, it's nurses and the kitchen staff, because of the month of May, it's appreciation for everyone. And I know how hard it is to try to negotiate and trying to make everything happy and trying to get things done. And, you know, and I know that this school committee, I don't know what's happening in negotiation, so I can't apologize or I can't applaud. But I know that we've always worked things out. And I know that we have a good team that will make sure that, you know what, we should succeed. We try to do that all the time in all the negotiations. We have them on the city side also. But it was kind of mind-boggling that I don't understand, and maybe this is for something else, is I know on the city side that we offer disability, and you pay for it. It's not like we give it to you free, but I have it, and I'm the mayor, because you just don't know, like someone said, a month or 2 months off, and if you don't have sick bank, and if you don't have, and I don't have 6 days, but my employees, let's say, and you have to borrow it from somebody else, and if that can't be done because people want to take that away, but it's very minimal cost, I know. You don't offer it on the school side? And maybe we should look into that too, because I know that we offer it on the city side. You can pay for the 26 weeks, or you can pay for, you know, unlimited disability. So I know sometimes people don't want to do that, but it's very minimal. It's like $3 per pay period, up to, it depends what your salary and what you want. Maybe we should have both HRs compare what we can offer, and because I don't want to hear that someone could lose a home because we didn't have any time for sick, or we didn't have any banking, or we didn't have that, because any kind of criteria what's been happening, a sickness lately, it goes fast, and you know what, and maybe someone should also get that, because some people who start early, you know, all of a sudden, you know, gets pregnant, and there's no there is no, a family paid leave, and there's certain things that we can do. So I think, that's something that we should offer. And if someone chooses to get it, they pay for it themselves. And I think it's a win. So I'll see what we can do on that. I don't know what you have on your school side, and I apologize for not knowing more. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for Dylan? Kathy?
I have a question for Dylan.
You still there, Dylan?
I'm still here.
Great.
I want to know how it is to be in school all day this week. Is it exciting for you? Is it a drag? What is the what's the general mood about now having to be kind of fully in all day long?
So I've definitely noticed people are a little tired just because they're adjusting back to the full day. But I am definitely a fan of it. I feel like I've been kind of re-energized seeing all the people I know and the whole school back in. It kind of refocused me and got me pretty excited for going back into school every day.
Super. Thank you.
Any other questions for Dylan before we send him off to do his homework? Right. Okay. Thank you, Dylan. And like I always offer, everybody, you're welcome to stay. We understand it if you don't. Okay. Thanks.
Dylan. Thanks a lot. Great update. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next order of business is the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that anybody would like removed for further discussion? There's practically nothing on it, so I don't expect any. Seeing none, do we have a motion to accept the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Maria, can we have a roll call vote?
Chairman Poe.
Yes.
Sorry, I'm looking for my list. Mayor Taken.
Yes.
Ms. Watson.
Yes.
Ms. Weeson.
Yes.
Kathy Clancy.
Yes.
And Mr. Favazza.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It passes 6 in favor and 1 absent. And we're going to move on to our deliberations on educational issues. And we're lucky tonight to have Tim Flaherty and Emily Karen here to talk to us about the YMCA and their how they are partners with us in educating the children of Gloucester. So Tim, are you going to take the lead here?
Sure. Thank you, Chairman Pope, and thank you to the rest of the school committee and Madam Mayor. We've actually had, like everybody else, had an interesting year, but it's been a good year because we're able to have the after-school program at our current Y, our old Y on Middle Street, which is soon to be turned into 44 units of senior housing, but they'll be there till the end of June. We've actually had a very good year. I'm going to have Emily Karen kind of go into some of the details. She's going to share her screen, but we've had a good year. We actually, since the beginning of April, we've been at our new Y here in Gloucester Crossing Road. It's been great, and a lot of potential is actually what we've seen a lot is a lot of kids coming through here, a lot of middle school and high school kids, which is kind of a nice feeling coming through the building, which is really nice. And I just want to thank everybody here. The collaboration and the partnership that we've had, not only this past year, but in previous years, working together in all the schools, whether it be the after school program, whether it be even kids taking gym class and taking credits here at the Y. There's a lot of great things that have been happening, a lot of possibilities, especially with the new Y. So again, thank you for having us. I'm going to turn it over to Emily, and she's going to share her screen. And we're going to kind of go over the after school program and talk about what we're doing here for the summer. But and then I'll finish it up after that. Emily?
Thanks, Tim. I'm not sure if you guys can see my screen or not.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Emily, I have the presentation you sent to me. Do you want me to share it?
Sure, that would be great. Thank you, Ben.
Yep, no problem. Might just be easier.
Yeah, that would probably be easier.
More often than you do. 1 second here.
All right, thanks, Ben.
Sure.
So we go ahead and go to the second slide if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. So I was just going to touch a little bit about our current after school program and how we've adjusted. When Ben and I were talking earlier in the week, he wanted to hear a little bit more of what the program looked like this year. So as Tim mentioned, we, in continuing our partnership with the Gloucester schools, we're able to pivot and run our program in our downtown Y facility. And as Tim said, we share the facility with our members until April, which now we've been able to spread out even more so. We've turned the fitness centers into classrooms for each of the schools and are able to use our gym for great games now and our gymnastics center. And you can see some of the numbers here of the number of students we served this year. We do think that some of these numbers look a little bit different than the previous school year because of COVID and the families that returned to school versus those who stayed remote. The benefit of that is we were able to also partner with the Gloucester Education Foundation to provide a remote learning program as well. So we had after school for the students that were enrolled in half day when we were at half day until we transitioned to full day, and we transitioned our program as well to then continue to support that need for our families here in town that need childcare after the school day ends. So we've been really grateful for the opportunity to have this partnership. Our staff all are trained to be able to help in homework, and I actually am a licensed teacher, so I was able to do some of that training for my staff of what supporting kids in different grade levels look like with their homework. And our STEAM and art enrichment, we have a couple different staff who are really good at STEAM curriculum when I am not. So that is amazing for them to see the gifting of our staff team to be able to bring that to our programs. We've built birdhouses with Art Haven. We've painted the buoys with Art Haven. We've made sculptures out of marshmallows and toothpicks, all different types of enrichment and activities. Ben, do you mind tapping to the next slide over?
There you go.
Thank you. So as I mentioned a little bit before, we've partnered with GEF to have a remote learning partnership. So we did a lot of deliberation about how we can make this work, how the kids who were partially remote had a place to be and a place to complete their assignments. We looked at the remote learning hour primarily for the O'Malley students and for students in the elementary schools. And GEF had some funding that we were able to share to cover the costs for students to be enrolled in the programs. So we created an O'Malley program, which we haven't had a middle school program at the Y in quite a long time because of the benefits of the 21st Century Grant that you have. And so to be able to support our O'Malley students with technology support, individualized homework help, and to have peers who were doing it as well, and seeing that intentionality of let's get these assignments done, let's do our work so that way we can succeed in school. It's been a really cool opportunity to work with the O'Malley teachers and the adjustment counselors to help identify those students and support them outside of the school day. We've continued the O'Malley program now that they're fully back in school as well. We're serving 10 students consistently, and we have 6 students across the elementary school that were identified to participate in the program. And it has been very, very encouraging to see those kids come out of their shell to ask for more help with homework. We have a child who was an ELL, and she has come out of her shell dramatically so. It's encouraging to see her dynamic change as well in our program. So that's a little bit of a shout out for GEF. So thank you, Aria and the team there for that funding. Thank you, Ben, as well for that partnership to make that happen. So if you want to tap to the next slide here. Greg is going to speak a little bit to this in a few minutes, but we are partnering with the schools in another capacity for this summer. Typically, the YMCA has funded and supported a summer learning loss prevention program where we've served 2nd and 3rd graders that were identified by the schools for a 6-week learning program. This year, because of the changes in the school days and the access to education, as an organization and as a school district, we decided to partner to provide that academic support for incoming 1st through 5th grade. So the school, because you are a team of teachers and an organization that is very strong in the academics, and as a Y, we are very strong in enrichment. We've partnered to our capabilities to have the school day at Beeman and the opportunity for families to have enrichment at Camp Spindrift in the afternoon. So it is a half-day enrichment where they'll be in school for half the day at Beeman and then come to us out at Camp Spindrift for the afternoons. And as of right now, I pulled the numbers right before our meeting. We currently have 48 students registered to join us at Spindrift, and there are more students registered for the Beeman program as well. So that is very, very encouraging. And for those students, it's completely free to be a part of Spindrift for the afternoons. We want them to have the opportunity to have that social interaction and social enrichment that camp can provide. And I'm a little bit biased, I'm the camp director, so getting to have those kids at Spindrift is going to be such a gift because there are quite a few names that have never been there before, which I'm so excited for them to have that opportunity. And the other exciting thing is that we're looking ahead. We're going back to the schools for the after school programs. We're trialing it right now with West Parish, and it is going smooth so far. After April vacation, we transitioned the after school program back to West Parish, and we are working on the process of getting the programs back into the building for next year. And we do have a grant that we've received to offer KinderSwim here at our new facility. KinderSwim is a program that covers the cost for all kindergartners in a school district to have access to swim lessons. We're working with Ben to determine how that would look, but we are very excited about that opportunity. And we're also looking to add in some additional middle school and high school programs here at the new facility as well. I know in previous years, we had a gym credit portion where if students came and worked out here at the Y, they were able to get gym credits. And I'm not sure where that is at as far as COVID this year, but that's something we can definitely bring back, as well as bring in some additional middle school programming for our students who need somewhere to go that's safe for them in the afternoons and going to be positive for them in the long haul. So that's some of what we have. And then I will tap one more thing here. If you want to slide to the next slide. We're hiring. So if you have a high school student who, and I think across the board, we're all hiring, but if you have a high school student or a teacher who's looking for a summer job and wants to get connected to the Y, please go right to our website or email us. I am still hiring for camp staff. So if you know of high quality sophomores, juniors, or seniors who are looking for a summer job, you can share my name with them and I would love to have them come join us. We're also looking for lifeguards, swim instructors, fitness staff, and any sports and program staff as well. So that's about all I have. Tim, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I would just add that it's not just hiring staff for kids. It's even people in the community, even the teachers, who might want to, a few extra dollars, but also maybe get a free membership with it. There's a lot of possibilities with a job at the Y. But the one thing I just wanted to kind of emphasize is just the history that we have with the schools, with people who are kids, families, adults. I just want to point out, shout out to Joe Favazza, the grandfather of Joel, who was here for many years at our Y. Unfortunately, he passed away this past year, but it's people like him that made the Y what it is today. And then now we're into our new Y, and we're growing, and the awesome possibilities. The one thing I always hear from some veteran members that they needed a facility, a community center to help out the kids and their families. And now we finally have that here in Gloucester, which we should all be proud of. It's the great community center that we all looked for, and the possibilities that we see people, even in the situation we were in. We have 4,000 or 5,000 members coming in ahead of schedule to help out and be part of this healthy community, which is great. And we're just glad to be a partner with you guys.
Great. John,
any questions?
No questions? We get off
grandfather. Thank you very much. That was very kind of you.
Absolutely. Well, your grandfather was an example of many people who, used to see him walk down from his house on Middle Street in his, young age coming through there, working out, and then being next to people is kind of like a role model for a lot of the people going in there. So if we can kind of, do that here at the new Y, then, what will be a success. So just wanted to make sure I mentioned that, because that's what the Y is all about. It's about community, working with the school system, working with other nonprofits, and the opportunity here at this facility is endless. So just want to make sure I mentioned that's important.
Jonathan, if I could just say a couple of things. Go ahead. Tim and Emily, thank you so much for your partnership this year. When we started started working together in the summer, there were moments where I thought that, we just wouldn't be able to do this and you guys wouldn't be able to do it for Gloucester families. First we said we couldn't have you in the schools, and you guys, didn't really blink. Then we said, well, we have to get transportation, and you guys didn't blink, and we provide some of that transportation, but then you guys also found, resources to provide transportation. And then we told you, well, you had to support the remote learning hour and the remote learning in the afternoon, and you guys didn't blink. And, and we helped you with some Chromebooks, that sort of thing at your facility. So we partnered in that way. And that was working really well for a while. And then we said, well, we're going to go back to regular school day. And you guys didn't blink, and that meant we had to, adjust transportation and adjust routes, and you guys had to adjust your approach. And, and we had to then wanted to get West Parish up and going and back in school, and you guys didn't blink. And so I just really appreciate how from the beginning you stuck with us, you worked with us, and you just were about, how do we get it done? And so just really appreciate that approach to partnership and that partnership. And obviously, as you can see, this year, fewer number of kids, but well over 100 that you helped every day and day in and day out, and those families. And just like you said, I'm new to this partnership, but really appreciate how it went this year. So thanks so much for just keeping at it with us.
Thank you, Ben. Appreciate everybody's support.
Samantha.
Thank you, Emily and Tim. Tim, I just had a question. You mentioned that there's a lot more involvement with adolescents and high schoolers at the Y. I'm curious, how are they accessing the Y? Are they getting dropped off? Do they have their own transportation? Are they walking? I'm just wondering if you're noticing just sort of a trend in how people are getting there.
That's a great question, because we did not have this kind of traffic downtown. And one of the concerns were, how are kids going to get to this facility because it's off the highway? But they come in through off the neighborhoods, off of Green Street, and they're either on their bike or they're walking, or they're getting dropped by their parents. So it's a variety of ways. I've seen more bikes at this facility than I have before. Mostly kids, but some adults as well, coming through there, and they're coming in there. It's sometimes a little challenging because we all know how kids are. They don't come sometimes in twos. They come in, in packs of 20s coming through here. So it's a little sometimes challenging, but we're adapting. And so that's kind of, it's a good problem to have.
Sure. Thank you. I'm glad to hear it.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much, Tim and Emily. We certainly do, put great value on the partnership that we have with the Y and have had for many, many years. And we look forward to continuing that, and as it changes every day with the way things are. But you've been able to adapt to what we have to adapt to, I guess. We just keep going back and forth, but we're making it work. So thank you very much.
Thank you. If we do it together, we'll be all set, right?
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to our next order of business, which is the superintendent's report. Superintendent Lummis.
Thank you, Chairman Pope. So a few updates. I'll get to the update on COVID and the schools in the city, and that's a lot of good news. Just want to capture a couple of things before I put the presentation up, which is one, as Kathy has mentioned, the high school seniors are back in session and back to the regular school day, and going pretty well, working out the kinks there, but it started pretty well. 9th to 11th grade returns fully. I haven't had a chance to check in too much with James this week, but we do know that we got the floor covering today to cover up the nice brand new field house floor, and that'll help us with lunch next week. But a lot of work to do still on that, and a lot of pieces here, but just really can't say enough about the big shift that's happened at O'Malley, then also now at the high school. But I'm really, really glad that our kids are getting back to the regular school day. It's hard to believe that a young gentleman like Dylan Orlando, hasn't been in for a regular school day for over a year. As we've said all along the way, it was great to have our kids in, at least 4 days a week, even if that's for shorter days. But the fact that it's just hard for me to still fathom that more than a year later, kids are just haven't been in a regular school day until recently. So it's good news, obviously. One other quick announcement. As you may remember, we had forums, public forums, community forums for kindergarten for families coming into kindergarten next year about registration and enrollment. And then last week, I think it was, yeah, May 3rd, I believe, we had our first ever kindergarten forum for families that was entirely in Spanish. Not entirely in Spanish because I didn't speak Spanish because I don't speak Spanish very well. But Elizabeth Nunez from Pathways and Christine Castle just did a fantastic job reaching out to parents and families. And then also Elizabeth translated live the whole session. And also our presentation was translated as well. And we had about 8 families on there. So a small number, but a great number. Asked some very good questions, really helpful questions. And then we followed up with them as well. So just really appreciate the effort to reach out to our Spanish-speaking families and make sure they understand the process and know how to make sure their kids are enrolled in a timely manner. So that was a good step for us, I think. So let me just any questions so far? I'll pull up my presentation. Okay, great. 1 second. Okay, Jonathan, you can see that? Great. So I'll just go, not too many updates tonight. Won't keep you here long, but just in terms of just getting back to, going backwards here, quite a bit good news. So we're down to 15 active cases across the city. You'll see, I mean, we were at 179 in January in the city, 123 in December. It's obviously gone up and down a little bit, but really just a steady decline now. So that shouldn't say March 12th, that should say May 12th, sorry. A little bit of a time warp there. May 12th, today, there are 15 active cases across the city and only 1 new case across the city between yesterday and today. So that's remarkable and great news all around. So things are going quite well. And that's reflected in the schools. So 5 new cases since the 28th, since we last met. Sorry, these numbers aren't quite right. We have 195 total cases among students and staff since the beginning. We had 190 cases resolved. Sorry, I didn't update that. And that means that 5 cases are currently active. You'll see our weekly testing at Gloucester High School in O'Malley continues every week. And still haven't had a positive test there for a while. So still only 2 positive tests after testing nearly 1,500 individuals over since February at Gloucester High, and in O'Malley, almost 1,900 tests and only 1 positive test. So, still pretty good sample of folks, but the participation has leveled out for a long time now at the levels it has been, but great news there. In terms of active cases, like I said, 5. So 1 in O'Malley and Gloucester High, 3 happen to be at West Parish. That popped up just recently over the weekend. And then looking at some data, I was noticing that since April 1st, we'd only had, April 14th, just trying to see this, only 1 positive case among staff. And I looked back a little further to see, well, what was that before that? And that was only 4 positive cases among staff since March 10th. So you can see, especially since April. And then, I'm not a medical professional, but I imagine vaccines are helping and perhaps the warmer weather all. And then I looked back even further just to see how many we had total, and that's 36 positive cases among staff since since we started school. So just hadn't shared those sort of aggregate numbers yet, but I noticed them today and thought I would share them with everybody. So, but that's great news that really a month, April 14th, about a full month. Only 1 positive case among all of our staff. So that's fantastic news, I think, and really speaks to our folks taking good care of themselves. And by taking good care of themselves, taking good care of others as well. So I really appreciate that. And then also want to announce, I think I mentioned we're working on this, but we're going to have in-school vaccination clinics. So this is very new news. We've been working on it for a couple of weeks now with the Department of Health. They pulled in some local pediatricians as well. So we'll have 2 clinics. I'll give you some basics here, and just please understand that we don't have all the details worked out yet, but 2 clinics, one will be at O'Malley, one will be at Gloucester High School. They'll be using the Pfizer vaccine now that it's been approved for students 12 years and older, or people, not, people 12 years and older. There'll be no cost of families at the vaccination clinics in our schools. These will be similar to when we do flu clinics. So it's something we've done before, certainly. They'll be optional. The dates aren't set yet, but but as soon as we know them and know exactly how things will work, then we will provide direct outreach to families through email, probably phone calls as well, and also Facebook and social media. From the schools, from the district, we'll try to really make sure folks are really, are well aware of how to do it and what's going to happen. We'll be working, our school nurses will help out with this, of course. The Gloucester Department of Health will help out with this. We'll also be doing outreach with local pediatricians, supporting the effort to get children vaccinated as well. As you know, more than 93% of our GPS staff are fully vaccinated. And then we're aiming, of course, to have as many students as possible vaccinated before the new school year. So I know there's still some uncertainty about children getting vaccinated, but it's sort of the next phase, the next step in the health and safety protocols that have been helpful all year long. And we are going to really encourage our families to take that next step as well, and hope folks will. That's really just, I'll stop the presentation. That's all I have on those updates tonight. And if you have any questions, after your questions, then we'll move on to Mr. Bach telling us about summer learning.
Okay. Laura.
Thank you. And Ben, that's great news about the in-school vaccination clinics. A question about that. I know you're still very much in formation, but if there are teachers and staff who are still trying to get vaccinations, would it be possible for them to be part of those in-school vaccination?
I haven't asked the question yet, just haven't gotten there yet, but I don't see why not. I'll make sure we ask that question and pursue it. And again, I'll push to make sure that can be available. Yes, that's a good idea.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions before we move on to summer work? Kathy.
I was curious if we have an updated percent on how many people are participating in pooled testing.
It hasn't changed. It hasn't changed in weeks and weeks. So that's still 130 people at O'Malley each week. So that's probably I'm not going to be able to do very good math right now. That's probably just under 20%, and then 170 at O'Malley. So that's probably about almost 30%, I believe. And then a little bit, that's about 25%. And then at GHS, 130. So that's probably about 15%. Don't hold me accountable for the math quite now, right now.
And that number is students and teachers, right?
Yeah, combined, right. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yep. But that's held steady for weeks and weeks, basically. Yeah.
All right. I don't see any other questions. So would you like to move on?
All set, Ben?
Great.
Great. Would you mind I shared the presentation with you? Do you want to put that in the screen?
I am happy to be the tour guide. Sure.
Great, thank you. Just a quick update on current plans, just letting you know also that we still have, we are still adding programs. We plan to add more ELL programs over the summer. And then we have a number of custom smaller programs that we'll be adding. But these are the big ones that are coming up this summer. We have, it's a good one to start with. We heard from Emily and Tim about Camp Spindrift. I have to say, in following up on the theme of spirit of cooperation with the YMCA, I anticipated much longer, more extensive meetings to try to figure out how to shift this summer to doing something that YMCA had worked in the past. I had a meeting with Andrew and Emily, and it was just so quickly that we came to an understanding that this was an exceptional summer where a lot of students were in need of additional programming, and we just wanted to make it work. And it was a really quick, effective meeting, and just really enjoyable working with them. And I also want to point out here, Christy Lambert, who is the elementary summer learning coordinator, has really been, she's just been instrumental in pulling this program together, as well as assisting with others. She's done an enormous amount of work, and probably when we get a little bit closer, or possibly a wrap up from the program, I'd love to have her on to share her thoughts. Grade 1 through 5 this year has a math and literacy camp. And this is going to be taught by, we have 13 teachers. And I also have to say that, it's been an exhausting year for all of us, and our teachers have worked incredibly hard. And the fact that so many teachers were willing to step up and offer to participate in the camp was really great. There's a real nice spirit of team pulling together to do this. I know they care immensely about their students and wanting to make sure that they get the best support this summer. So I'm really impressed by the team that has come together. We have an administrative assistant, a nurse, a program director with Christy Lambert, and we are planning to serve 100 students. Invitations have already gone out, and I believe most students' families have responded already. We'll be providing, through grant funding, we'll be providing busing to Beeman School and back home again. And as Tim mentioned, almost 50 students so far will be going from Beeman School to Camp Spindrift right after that noon break at our program. We'll run 9 to 12, Monday through Thursday, June 28th through July 29th for 5 weeks. The Spindrift program is 5 days a week with a full day on Friday. And I just want to point out that all of this is free of charge. There's no cost. We have also at the elementary level, we have a, Ben, do you mind moving one slide ahead? Yeah, we have science, the grade 4 and 5 Gordon Summer Engineering and Coding Camp. This involves, this has been a GEF grant funded program for the last couple of years. Aaron and Anne-Marie at the Beeman School did a great job putting this together. And these are engineering challenges with open-ended challenges, coding as well. They are using engineering, flexible engineering adventures. I saw this program in action on one of the hottest days in the summer a couple of years ago, and it was just a really fantastic program. Kids were incredibly engaged. There's a lot of good stuff going on here, and those teachers plan on serving at least 45 students, and I may have misunderstood, but I think it may be even more, but they are all going to be guaranteed at least one session. So there's another large group that is going to be doing science this summer, and that's also going to be at the Beeman School. So we're going to take advantage of the big tent out in the playground to be able to provide some outdoor classroom. I think I just lost the presentation.
That's my fault. Sorry. Don't know what happened. Give me a moment. Keep talking.
No problem. We're going to move on to the middle school while we're waiting for that to come up. And there are a number of programs going on at the middle school. We have the O'Malley Academy summer programs, which many of you are used to seeing and hearing about. And I might as well mention those. There's a drama boot camp in the week of July 5th. Then drama camp, which is a big hit at the middle school. Many of you have seen productions. This year it's going to be The Little Mermaid, and it will be, are we back up? We're back up. Okay, I'm going to go back to the, actually, if you could go back ahead one slide.
There?
Yep. Little Mermaid, July 12th to August 12th for 5 weeks. There's also an enrichment camp with an O'Malley mural project, and that's 2 one-week-long camps, August 2nd and August 9th. I believe they're planning a summer band camp with dates to be determined. And then there is a Step It Up program, which is a 5th to 6th grade transition camp the week of August 16th. So from the academics are going to be starting the end of June all the way through the end of the week of August 16th. O'Malley is going to be a happening place this summer. If we could go back one slide. In addition to the usual O'Malley Academy programs, the middle school is going to be adding what's called a summer boost academic enrichment with a staff of teachers serving up to 150 students, 8:30 to 12 o'clock, Monday through Thursday for 5 weeks, June 28th, July 29th, to sort of mirror what's happening at Beeman. And 4 teachers and 2 paraprofessionals will be staffing that. And they'll be using, focusing on ELA and math instruction and combining work on priority standards with real life learning opportunities. Summer reading program, this will be 1 week per grade level for a total of 3 weeks with an anticipated enrollment of up to 75 students to do some high interest activities and instruction that'll support students with a recommended summer reading. And that's going to take place July 5th to July 22nd, 8:30 to 12 o'clock. Large number of students involved at the middle school. I can't even add up between 150 here plus 75, and then the well over 100, even up to 200 that are served by O'Malley Academy. It's going to be it's going to be a great summer at O'Malley. If we could go to the next slide. I thought this was going to be super quick, but there is so much going on this summer. It keeps surprising me. At the high school, we have several tiers. James and his team have been working on this. Several levels of credit recovery that are going on, and tutoring and support. For this group of students who have attained a 50 or higher in a core subject, they will be enrolled in the equivalent Play Edmentum platform, and they'll be supported by teachers as they attend on site for up to 16 days. And the average, I put these in here just to sort of help understand it. It is 2.5 hours per day per course over that time, or they can take up to 2 courses for a 5-hour day. They'll have support from experienced, really great staff members who've been doing this in the past. And they will be supported as they work with the Edmentum platform. They'll also receive direct support and tutoring from the teachers. They may finish it in fewer than 16 days, depending on how they are doing in mastery. And they'll be able to demonstrate that. It doesn't change the numeric grade, but it does go on a transcript as a successfully completed credit recovery course. That's during the month of July. I do not have the exact dates yet. And James is anticipating up to about 50 students who will be served in that tier 1. The next level is tier 2. If we could go to the next slide.
Wait a minute, it's something messed up again, sorry.
It's okay. Tier 2 is going to involve students who have a grade. Are we back? We're back.
What there?
Students with a grade lower,
Sorry,
lower than 50 for a school year course, they would either take semester A, if that is where they received lower than a 50 grade, or B, or both, depending on their performance. These take more time, could take up to 30 days. And it's a combination of on-site hours, some self-paced work at home. The estimated time, typical time, is 2.5 hours a day, times 15 days for the semester. Student should be able to, can complete a total, the equivalent of 4 semesters in the summer program. As again, supported by teachers, and will run during the months of July and August, 7:30 to 12:30. And another anticipated enrollment of approximately 50 students. So there's another 100 students in those 2 programs. And if we could go to the last slide, which should be focus on, yep, almost had it. Sorry, one before that. They are currently designing more customized solutions for English learners and focusing on direct support, one-to-one support sometimes with students, and really designing a summer support program, including SEI pre-algebra, that will most directly support those English learners. There's more details to follow on the English learner. And then there will also be a bit more information on special education. But the reason why this one is taking a bit longer is because they really are trying to figure out, they're really trying to pay close attention, not just to a population or a group, but to actually individuals and the individual needs. It's pretty impressive the amount of time they're spending thinking about the exact needs of the students and tailoring some programs for them. I just completed an amendment today of one of our grants, Title IV grant, that I rewrote today, that will fund counseling for both the O'Malley School and for the high school for the full duration of the summer programs. Given that there are a lot of students who are going to be there in the summer, many who may have additional needs, that non-academic needs, have just come off what may be a challenging and stressful year, may need access to counseling staff. So we are going to be posting shortly for a counseling support for both of those programs for the full summer. And if we can go to the last slide, district-wide, you're probably familiar that Patty Wegman and the team she works with organizes and puts on a summer special education program every year, and this serves students in all grades, all ages, and they'll be serving at this point 77 students at the West Parish School. Program instruction to prevent regression of skills in the summer. They will focus on some of the specialized programs, continuing that kind of support in the summer. They're also, they've secured up to 13 tutors who are going to be working with students for different lengths of time, depending on the service requirements in grades 1 through 12. They have a staff of 8 teachers, 16 paraprofessionals, a nurse secretary, and a program director. Open Door is going to be providing a bagged lunch, and they're also going to provide a bagged breakfast. And I have not done this yet, but I'll be reaching out to Open Door to see how we can provide, if we can provide the same kind of lunch and breakfast service for the 150 students who will be at the Beeman School this summer. So we'll be reaching out shortly to do that as well. Thanks to all the people who have worked to put this together. in the STEAM camp at Beeman, Christy Lambert at the elementary school. The coaches have worked to design the program. All the teachers who have gotten together to create these teams. O'Malley Academy just does such a fine, exemplary job and has been recognized by the state, putting on, with Allison Alves leading that group, putting on an incredible program at the middle school. And James and his team really pulling together to provide a lot of support for a lot of students this summer. It's a big undertaking after a challenging year. Are there any questions I can help with? Kathy?
Laura?
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Greg. That was amazing. I'm just gonna ask two questions sort of quickly now, and then if I get another turn. One, the counseling support that you're gonna have sounds fantastic. Is that only for the GHS programs, or is that gonna be available for students in the other programs as well, the K through 8?
Right now, middle school will have a dedicated person, and the high school will have a dedicated person. I did talk to Christy briefly to ask about whether we should have some counseling at the elementary school. The initial thought was that the day is really tightly packed with, it's a shorter day. Some of the high school and middle school students will be there for, up to 5 hours. And it's a shorter day at the elementary school by the time they get a snack. And it's a very high engagement kind of activities that are designed for the summer. So we'll have to talk and think a little bit more about providing that at the 2 programs at Beeman School. I'm not sure about that yet. I believe the money will be there, but we just have to take a closer look at the need.
Okay, and the second part is the summer credit recovery that you talked about at GHS. Just so that I can understand it. So is that something that's a result of having missed credits because of COVID, or is that something that's offered every summer? If you could just explain what the reason, how that works.
That's offered, there's always a need every summer. It's expanded this year. And I can't tell you if it is directly related to COVID. I can sort of anecdotally tell you that I do think that this has been a more challenging year for students. There has been less direct contact time with teachers, and often that direct contact time with teachers is what makes all the difference in the world. And having somebody who is there to push when students need a push and support when they need to be supported, I would imagine would have an impact on students' ability to persevere and finish some of those courses. But yes, there is, typically there are up to 50 students every summer. This is expanded.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Kathy?
I'll follow along that same topic. So if a student is having difficulty this year because of the combination of remote and hybrid, my understanding is the Edmentum is kind of a self-paced online, but now we're providing support. So I'm wondering about the kids who struggled with that online. How are we going to help those students kind of re-engage and have kind of more of the traditional experience of learning when some have been having such a difficult time learning as it is? That's part A. Part B is, do we identify these students? Does everybody get to know that this is going on? So if I were a parent and my child got a 65, so they passed, they got the credit, but now I'm concerned they actually didn't learn anything, didn't learn enough for the parents' expectations, right? So even though they get the credit, but they probably don't have as much foundational knowledge to then progress for instance, in math to the next level, right? They're going to constantly be playing catch up. So is this information put out to a broad group, not just those who absolutely need to make up the credits, but those that may be, whose families might think this would be a good idea for their child?
I can't answer that one confidently enough. I do know that a lot of outreach is focused on the students who are identified as at risk or having the need or benefit, focusing in first on the credit recovery. And that is job number one at the moment. I don't know about the group that you're talking about, which is, I passed the course, but there's a sense that I could really use some further enrichment or deeper understanding. I don't know the answer to that. I do know that they have spent a lot of time focusing on those in greatest need.
Yeah, because I think some of those kids who are kind of on that cusp may need that additional counseling support as well.
That's
so we
very
might
possible.
be, right?
And
so that's kind of my concern, is that there's a few things going on.
And I can't speak for the high school right now, but the fact that we will be having somebody staffing, counseling staff for the entire summer for those full days, I would imagine would open that up to, being able to serve more students. And if there's a need, I imagine the high school, based on everything I've seen, will make every effort to match students who are in need with a counselor. In answer to the question about what's different in when students have a tough time with a self-paced Edmentum, one of the things that they really do well, and the teachers who are very dedicated to staffing the summer program, they really specialize and have it down in creating the kind of welcoming, supportive atmosphere that can make the difference. If I know that probably at the same age, if I were left to my own devices, I might have a pretty tough time engaging purely in a self-paced course without some kind of human connection and support, particularly in the summer. And that's exactly what they do provide, and they do a great job of that. So they are there engaging the students, understanding where they feel challenged by something, helping them address some of the things that they find difficult, and are literally right at their elbow with both encouragement, but also the sort of on-the-spot tutoring as they encounter something. So I think that combination is a really successful combination that helps a student use a core program with the additional expertise and the human touch that a teacher can bring to it. And that makes it a good combination.
Great, thank you very much.
Any other questions?
I have a general question, even though it's not this particular, I mean, it's related to the high school programming that I saw an article in the paper, and Dylan mentioned it, I believe, and Dylan Orlando mentioned it, is the machinist program this summer at the high school. And the ad seemed to imply it was for Gloucester High School students only. And I may be misremembering, but I thought that was supposed to be kind of a open opportunity for somebody, for others who may want that training. So I just want to put that out there as a open question, because I know the paper doesn't sometimes get all the details correct, but the piece was good in general, but then some piece said for GHS students, and I'm not sure that's my recall as to what that intent was. And exclusively, I mean, obviously it's for them, but I thought it was open for others as well.
Right, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly. So, I mean, I'm aware of the advanced manufacturing programs that we're opening up, for adults. Was this article based on that, you think? I'm not sort of.
Yes, because it talked about funding from general, from GE to help with the program. And anyway, take a look at the article and see if there's any clarification that needs to happen.
That's what I'm saying is that program is available to the general community, and the targets with adults as in terms of like a nighttime training program. So, but I'll look at that. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. In that case, we'll move on. Is there anything more from you, Ben, or are we moving on to committee reports, which there are none, with the exception of, I guess we can say this, we do have a tentative agreement with food service, and there'll be more to explain at that, but at our next meeting. That just happened on Monday. We have no action items. And so we're on to East Gloucester Veterans Memorial School Building Committee update. I can start by just saying we're continuing to go through the process of permitting right now. The P&D, the City Council P&D is in the process of doing site visits to talk about the height variance that we will need, and Conservation Commission is in the process of having an outside party do an assessment of the plan for the building that affects the wetlands and drainage, etc. These things are ongoing, but there's nothing much to report. Next week, at the end of next week, there will be a meeting with MSBA with the design team to review the latest submission, which was the 60% design development submission. So, I've seen the preliminary response, and it seems that there's no big issues there. There's just some clarification that they'll be looking for. Ben, Kathy, do you have anything to add?
Sure. I just want to add about the, so in any school building project, during construction, there are impacts on the neighborhood, like any large construction project. And so in terms of being responsible neighbors, we are having and informing the neighbors, we're having a neighborhood, sort of, a neighborhood meeting next week on May 18th. And I'll show you the flyer that was sent out to neighbors in the area. Probably, I'm not sure, but it's over 100 residents. We sent this flyer to in the mail, and that's going to focus on. We'll give folks an update on what the building looks like, obviously, because that's the most exciting part of it. But we'll also talk about construction timeline, safety during construction, any traffic impacts that we might expect, or delivery times, that sort of thing. Also, what's typically done to mitigate noise, and also like dust, construction dust, that sort of thing. And just to make sure that the folks who live close by to the Veterans East Gloucester building project are sort of aware, and also they know how to get information if something comes up or something they're not happy about in terms of when construction goes. So we're getting ahead of this. Obviously, demolition and construction don't start until late summer, early fall, but want to make sure that the neighborhood knows that what's going to be happening, when it's going to be happening, and how they can get where to go, where to turn if they need information or answers. So I'll stop sharing that. And that's May 18th at 7 o'clock virtually.
Laura.
Ben, I just wanted to ask about that. The flyer looked great. Is it available in any other languages, and has it gone out via email, which I know is, I'm just wondering if there's been other methods of getting the word out about that event.
It's on, there will be more. Tomorrow we'll start reaching out by email. We'll also make sure that the city councilors, Memhart and Pet, are aware of it so they can let their constituents know. We'll do social media. have not translated it, but will translate and make sure that families know about it too.
I have sent it to the city council, so they've all gotten the invitation as well as, the council on Memhard is, I believe, in the hospital, so I'm not sure what he's able to do right now.
One thing at the forum and beyond, going forward from here, we want to continue to encourage folks in the neighborhood to sign up for our email updates. That's obviously the most convenient, the most effective way to get to people these days. And so the more we can build a list, or perhaps we don't think that Councillor Pett or Memhard have email lists for constituents, but maybe they can help us build that. But we'll do a real big effort at the forum for the folks who attend to sign up for that, and then help get other neighbors to sign up for that too. So we can grow that list.
Joel?
Thanks. 2 meetings ago, we had talked about getting ready to start the naming process and having the ad hoc naming committee get together. And then before we got together to just start with talking about the process, the letter from MSBA came out, and we kind of halted and said, well, let's just make sure we know what's going on with the project. But based on what was said at last meeting, what's been said tonight, it seems this project, as far as the city and the school district are concerned, is full speed ahead. So Jonathan, is it appropriate now for us to begin thinking about the process through which we want to solicit input from the community and begin a selection criteria?
I would say yes. As far as us moving forward, the direction we have from the charge we have, the building committee has, is to get the school built. And until that changes, it's not our decision to make to stop it until somebody tells us in authority that we should slow down or stop. We're going to move forward at the appropriate pace.
Yeah, I mean, as we know, the city council, the school committee, the city voters, have all approved the project. Yeah, this is we continue to move forward at pace and make sure everything's in position. Permitting, for example, plans, bids, all are moving forward, and we don't expect that to change anytime soon.
Okay, so yes, you should start the process, and that would be you and Kathy and Melissa coming up with a process. I mean, it's going to take a while to do that, I'm assuming. So get going. Anything else? Samantha, you wanted to, or Laura wanted to talk about us going back in person. At our last negotiating meeting with the GTA, the negotiating team was all at the library at tables, and we had the big screen TV, and we could see all of the people that on the GTA side negotiating the same way we're looking at you. You're looking at the screen now. They complained that they couldn't see us. There was just a sort of a similar sized square that showed a camera shot of the entire room. I don't know what it looked like from their view, but I don't, from what we could see of ourselves, it was very small. It was not great. So I don't know what the solution to that is. Before COVID, at Kairos, the city council had live city council meetings, and they were broadcast by Studio 1623. And they have the ability to broadcast live and also controlled cameras. So they have a number of cameras remote cameras in the Kairos auditorium, and they have somebody at a panel where they can switch cameras and focus in on people, and it does a much better job. Now, I think that we ought to talk to 1623 and to our IT people and see if there's any way that could be merged. If those systems could be merged, that might be a solution to the problems that people have said. Samantha?
So I guess I have two thoughts. One, in relation to negotiations, yes, of course, I think it makes sense for it to be more intimate, but at least from my perspective, the school committee is on board with meeting with negotiating teams in person. I don't know what happened with the GTA.
Well, as much as they complained about it tonight, they refused to meet with us in person.
Okay, so I think that could be resolved if we, in terms of negotiations, to meet in person, because I think the school committee is on board for that. In relation to our school committee meetings, I want it to be accessible, but I also recognize that any virtual option is going to be more accessible than what we've had in the past. So my question is the audio okay? Do people really need to see our face up close and personal? As long as they can hear us, to me, that seems like leaps and bounds over the 4 people who used to come to our meetings at the administration office. So, to me, I don't think we need to really jump over hoops here, right, to make this happen so that people can see our faces up close and personal. As long as they can hear us and they know what our conversation is, I think that that's absolutely appropriate. And I'm more than willing to continue moving forward with meeting in person.
I don't know, Kathy or Ben, you were there. I thought they could hear us. It's hard to know whether they never complained that they couldn't hear us. Okay, Laura.
So following up on that, what you're describing at Kairos is like is an actual sort of set, from it's a production, which is great, but I don't think we require that. My understanding is that Grant was researching, some technology that we could do this pretty simply, either from the high school library or from another sort of large space. And I thought he was waiting for those things to come in and we were going to try them out. So I feel like I agree with Samantha. Like, I don't think every person needs to be able to see each of our faces perfectly clearly. That would be better. But since we want to both be able to be accessible virtually the way we are now, so we have so many more people watching, and to be in person, I think, as Samantha said, I think I would love to go back to Grant, see what happened with the technology. I know he was waiting for it, and just see if we can set it up and give it a try.
John, let's clarify.
Sure.
So Laura, that is what we're using when we do negotiations, that equipment is in. And I think it's a question of continuing to work with it to see if we can have a combination of, when someone's speaking, you can see them up close, but when they're not, you see the whole committee. And so I think it's something that the committee might want to, or maybe we can test out some. I'll talk to Grant about it, but there might be a middle road here. And I think the access part is more about what form you use. Like if you're broadcasting on community access TV, which is what I think you guys used to do, what most communities used to do, that diminishes. Everyone can zoom in now. And that's the access. The easy access is not through community access TV, but it is actually through Zoom. So anyway, I think we could use the technology we have and see if we can find something. The one camera that sees all of us and very small is like the first iteration. So I think we need to try the second iteration and see if we can make some progress.
Yeah,
that sounds good. Yeah,
Joel.
Yeah, thanks. I think there's 2 different issues at hand here. As far as the negotiation problem where negotiating teams were saying they couldn't see all of us, that solves itself once negotiating teams agree to come negotiate in person where the school committee is, right? That problem's solved. And then as far as the meetings that we have, our subcommittee meetings and our full committee meetings, again, it's important for us to realize that, you know, these are our meetings to be held for us to discuss our business, all of which is to be done in public. And there is a good argument to be made that, you know, the 7 of us around a table facing each other is a more productive way to conduct our meetings in a public space. And that camera setup that Grant has built is more than adequate to capture us at a table together and capture the audio of everybody clearly. But it is not required of us, and it may actually be counterproductive for us to be set up in a dais format where it appears we are consistently presenting ourselves to an audience. We are not here, you know, at a public hearing, it's different. We should configure ourselves differently for a public hearing, absolutely. But, you know, 95% of our meetings are not public hearings. They are our meetings to have with each other and with staff to be held in public and observable by, you know, someone either in person or via Zoom this way. And so I'm not, you know, the setup that's been at the library has seemed to be functioning, you know, pretty seamlessly, pretty efficiently, and pretty easily. I don't think we need to mess with it. I think it's everything we need to conduct our business properly and provide, you know, access to the community that we've never provided prior to the pandemic. And I'm so glad we'll be able to continue providing, you know, via Zoom.
Samantha?
When will we get guidance on when people can actually come to our meetings in person? Like where are we at with that?
On the news today, I believe that I heard that Governor Baker is going to make an announcement on June 6th. Okay. But he had a meeting today, and I haven't really looked at what he said today. So he might have implied, but as of right now, the number is 25, and he at his last meeting before, like I said, we need to look up. I need to look up and see what he said today. But he talked about going to 200 inside. You know, as the next step, as the next leap. So I don't know when that kicks in.
Okay. And so this, you know, likely this is temporary, right? If people want to be able to see us better, they can come in person like they've always been able to, but it's significantly more accessible for the folks who still really would like to just be able to view and listen to our meetings from home. So I think we have the right technology and the momentum to move forward. So we should.
Okay. All right. Well, let's, like I say, keep it in mind and start thinking about whether we want to be at the high school or at O'Malley, or I think those are probably the only two logical options. We've done it at the high school. The high school works pretty good. It worked pretty good for a meeting of, how many were there? There was 3, 4, 5, 6 of us at that meeting, plus Maria. You know, it'd have to go to, you know, 10 or 12 at least if we were going to do a school committee meeting. You know, what I'm saying is I don't know how if we can invite the public in. I'm not sure whether the high school is the best place, whether O'Malley might be better. Go ahead, Joel.
So I think we talked about this before the pandemic, and the issue is that O'Malley triggers a janitorial requirement that otherwise isn't happening, but the high school, there's cleaning crew on staff working anyway. And so high school has, you know, the library, which is great for our typically sparsely attended meetings. It has the lecture hall right down the hall for if we expect a decent turnout for our hearing, and it has the auditorium if we expect, you know, a real citywide situation. And that would just be poor Grant having to get that cart on the elevator and bring it downstairs, but it'd be in the building for all three of those potential situations.
Okay. All right, well, let's report out at our next meeting at the end of the month, and we'll get Grant to give us some guidance as to what he can do to make it better. Okay. Anything else? Well, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
There we go. Maria, roll call vote, please.
Chairman Pope,
Yes.
Mayor Taken,
Yes.
Ms. Walton,
Yes.
Ms. Weason,
Yes.
Kathy Clancy,
Yes.
and Mr. Favazza.
Yes.
Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much. And at one point we had about 72 attendees. So.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Night.